Hello everyone, welcome to the Financial Information channel. In this video, we're going to discuss the stock market earnings and how the stock market has moved during the last few days. And before I start, I do videos about the stock market, personal finance, and how to make money online. Now let's begin with the first news. And the first news is going to be about Amazon. And the news about Amazon were huge since the company sold off over 4%. Now what they're claiming is that President Trump is planning to change some of the benefits that Amazon receives in terms of its tax. And some people might be confused. Amazon charges sales tax, but not from their third-party sellers. And you have to keep in mind that might affect Amazon, but I think it's going to affect most of the other companies. And some of the other companies are going to take a bigger hit, for example like eBay. But anyway, I don't see this as a huge deal in Amazon, even though the stock sold off. Now let's take a look at the second news. And the second news is about Goldman Sachs and Apple. And one of the analysts from Goldman Sachs said that he's trimming the iPhone sales during the first 2 quarters in 2018. And to be honest, this became huge news, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think Apple is going to have an amazing year unless the new iPhone in September comes with a new design. Just go back to the sales in September. The iPhone 8 didn't sell as well as the iPhone X. And that is because not many people are going to buy a new iPhone unless it's a new design. Now I want to cover Tesla, and I'm going to go very in detail in the next video. But now let's take a look at the companies that have reported earnings this week that I mentioned in the last video. And the first one is Red Hat, and this has become one of the hottest stocks in the stock market. They actually beat the EPS and revenue. They beat the EPS by 10 cents and the revenue by 10.73 millions. Their revenue year to year is over 22%. And the main thing when you look at the earnings, when a stock has beaten the EPS and the revenue, it's going to be the guidance. And they actually improved the guidance from 800 millions to around 810 millions. And the company shares reacted positive to the earnings. The company shares moved over 8%. However, the Nasdaq actually started to sell off, and the Nasdaq actually had a really bad week, and the shares actually moved down over 2%. Now, I mentioned in the last video, the best thing is if the company reported good earnings and the shares moved down, that was going to bring a good opportunity. However, at this moment, the stock market is very volatile, so you gotta keep that into your mind. Let's take a look at the next company that reported earnings, and that's going to be BlackBerry. And BlackBerry beat the EPS by 4 cents and the revenue by 22.19 millions. Their revenue year to year is negative 19%. Now, BlackBerry actually had good earnings and the shares moved over 6% before the market opened. But we really had a really bad day on Tuesday and the share price were negative for the week. They actually moved down over 7%. When there's a sell-off in the stock market, the companies that get hit the most are technology stocks and the companies that are related to the growth stocks. Now for the next company that reported earnings was Lululemon, and actually the company continued to have really strong earnings. The company beat the EPS by 6 cents and the revenue by 17.39 millions. The revenue year to year is positive 17.6%. And the most important metric is the comparable sales, and you can see the comparable store sales were up 2%. And this was supposed to be one of the best quarters, and the company delivered. In addition, they improved the guidance. And Lululemon expects to have a better revenue for 2019 and a better EPS in 2019. And Lululemon was one of those companies that were not affected by the stock market news this week. Look at the company shares on Tuesdays was around 78.55 cents. And right now the company shares have been positive during the week, over 12%. And Lululemon was one of those companies that I thought was not going to do that well, but it has been the opposite. But now let's take a look at another company that I mentioned in the last video, and that's PVH. And PVH beat the EPS by 12 cents and the revenue by 150 millions. The revenue year to year is positive 18.5%. And the guidance was even better. They actually expect to have a better quarter and a better fiscal year. The company expects to have a better EPS for the fiscal year of around $9 to $9.10 versus what the analysts were expecting with around $8.90. So the revenue is supposed to grow over 7%. And even though the company share didn't move as much as Lululemon, look, it has only moved over 5%. during this week. And in my opinion, PVH for me looks a better investment than Lululemon, even though that Lululemon has been better in the last few quarters. Now let's take a look at the last company that reported earnings, and that's Constellation Brands. They beat the EPS by 16 cents and the revenue by 20 millions. The revenue year to year is 8.6%. And this was another quarter where I expected the company to beat the EPS and revenue. But now let's take a look at the guidance. And for the fiscal year, they expect to have anywhere between $9.40 to around $9.70. So the company actually improved the guidance, but not by a lot. But now let's take a look at the shares, how the shares have moved before the market opened. And as you can see on the screen, the company has been positive over 4% after the company reported earnings. And this was business as usual for Constellation Brands. I expect the company to continue moving up, even though the stock market has sold off during the last few weeks. Now let's take a look at the stock charts. Not the stock chart. Let's take a look at the index, how they have moved during the last few weeks. And the first thing, I'm gonna set the daily for the Dow. And this is the Dow Jones daily stock chart. As you can see, we're below the 200 moving average. And if we end up breaking the 200 moving average, we can see a lot of sell-off. We probably will see the prices that we saw around October of last year. And one of the things that I haven't liked is the volume. Look at that volume. It has been really weak compared to the selling volume. But now let's take a look at the weekly chart for the Dow. And this is the weekly Dow Jones stock chart. At this moment, we're not oversold. Look at the RSI, it's around the middle point. And hopefully the stock market can be above the 200 moving average. Because look at the volume from September to around February. It was only 3 weeks that we actually saw negative volume. Compare how the stock market has moved during the last few weeks. I think we are fairly priced at this moment. Now we're taking a look at the SPY, which is the S&P 500, and this is the daily. And as you can see, even though that the stock market has moved a lot during the last few weeks, we're not oversold. We're fairly priced at this moment in the S&P 500, and it has been over the 200 moving average, which is around the $212. And the volumes levels have been fine, even though that we have seen more negative volume during the last few weeks. And in the weekly chart, we can see in the middle, which is the RSI, around the 200. And the volume has been steady during the last few weeks, except during that week that we sold off a lot. But now let's take a look at the Nasdaq, which is the technology sector. And as you can see, we actually have a lower RSI in the Nasdaq. So we're actually lower than the Dow and the S&P 500. And the 200 moving average is around $152. And as you can see, it has been very volatile from December up to this point. And the volume has been mostly negative during the last few months. And the reason is the Nasdaq has gone up the most during the last year. And I would expect more volatility during the next few months, especially since the companies will start reporting earnings next month. And to end, we're going to look at the Nasdaq weekly chart, and the RSI is in the middle point, so we're not oversold when you look at the Nasdaq for the long term. So that means that we're fairly priced, we're not oversold at this moment. And it is a good sign that we have been over the 200 moving average. And it is a good sign that we have been over the 200 moving average, even though we have seen a lot of negative volume during the last few weeks. But what I really would pay attention is to those companies that will report earnings like Apple, Amazon, Google, and Netflix. Those are going to report earnings next month. And the last thing I'm going to talk is the volatility index. I know you can see it has a spike, but at this moment we're in the middle range, which is the 50. And what we can see is a lot of volatility between the 17 to around the 25 during the next few weeks. And that's actually good for investment banks like Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley. And that is going to be everything for this video. Please leave in the comment section below what do you think about the stock market this week. In addition, in the next video, I am going to talk about Tesla and other companies. In addition, I'm going to mention the companies that will report earnings next week. It is easy to get carried off by the negative media. However, keep in mind that the stock market has given investors a positive return for multiple years. And with that said, please like this video if you find it helpful, or dislike it if you didn't like it. And remember, you can subscribe to the financial information channel. I'm going to continue making videos about the stock market, personal finance, and how to make money online. And I'm going to thank you once again for watching the video. Have an excellent day and take care, my friends.